Steve, how big is your team?
So all in all, we're about 25. We do have, well, thanks to you and for Work Better, we have 3 that we're working with from your organization that are in El Salvador that are really a part of our team, so I consider that part. And then we have maybe 5 or 6 part-time folks who work as researchers, helping us build lists for our clients. And then the rest, I would say about 15 or so are full-time.
Gotcha. And what do you do? So, and how many of them are working remotely, in addition to the 3 that the 3 from Work Better now?
Well, the last 6 weeks, we're all working remotely because,
Right.
we're not able to
It's a
go to the
loaded question.
office. Yeah. So everyone's working remotely now due to circumstances. Before the crisis, I would say there were about a dozen of us in the office.
Gotcha. And let's say pre-crisis, and then maybe to the extent that this has changed in the crisis, what do you consider your role as the CEO?
Always number one, to retain my employees. I mean, certainly pre-crisis, it was employee retention. I mean, as we know, the economy was super hot. A-level talent really have a choice to work for whoever they want because they're so valuable. And thankfully, we have a bunch of A players on the BDI team. So my job was always to really foster a culture that that resulted in keeping my employees and keeping them fulfilled, keeping them happy, bought in. So that was number one. And number 2 was to create, in a similar fashion, our employer brand so that we were very attractive when competing for talent when we were hiring, because we were growing and hiring. So that was, my main objective, because ultimately, if you have a fantastic team, and look, we're in a services business, so, this could be different for those who are making products but in a services business where essentially the people is the number one factor in terms of client satisfaction. You need to retain your best people, and you need to make sure that they're growing and that they're fulfilled and that they're learning and that they're achieving their personal career objectives. And that's really what was my number one job. Now, I would say it's still the same, but I would add a layer onto it, which is number one, the health and safety of my employees. I think it comes number one because we're in a crisis, and it's not only, the health and safety from the virus, but it's also mental health. A lot of my employees live in New York City. It's a very difficult place to live right now. There's not, people are in small apartments, and there's not a lot of comfortable opportunity to be outside, and when you have to social distance in a city like that, and it's isolating. So making sure that their mental health is good is big. We do things like we have group meditation that I work with a great person that helps us do that on Zoom once a week. Awesome. We do group yoga. And I'm doing more one-on-one check-ins through Zoom, kind of like we're speaking now, just with employees. And the topic isn't about work. It's about how are you? How's your family? How's your husband, your wife, your partner? Are you able to get the food you need and the supplies? How are you feeling about things? And it's really just a conversation. And, I'm not a psychologist by any means, but really, you need to stay very connected to people very closely in this day and age, because there's, I believe, a big problem with the whole country in terms of our mental health. I think there was even before this crisis. This crisis has made it even that much more of a problem. So I'm very much in tune with that. So I spend a lot of time just having conversations with my employees about how they're doing. And naturally, it does turn to work. So that's good. And it keeps, allows me to keep my finger on the pulse of where everyone's at and how they're doing.